Last night, Sword and I saw the new movie. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I decided this morning that I would try to draw Mr. Rogers. Now, not Tom Hanks, but Mr. Rogers himself. So I got a reference photo of Mr. Rogers putting on his sweater, and I set about trying to sketch that. And I'll admit it was kind of a fail, but I'm still going to call it Mr. Rogers. I'm not going to deny that that's who I was trying to draw. He's kind of difficult because Mr. Rogers is not what you would think of as necessarily the most classically handsome man, but he's not an ugly man. And when you look at him very carefully, you see that he is rather good looking. And then there's something quirky about his looks that makes him, not your average good looking man. Something around the eyebrows and the length of the face and things like that. So at this point, when I was trying to draw Mr. Rogers, he kind of looked a little bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I know that's not a very nice comparison, but so I had to work on trying to figure out what made Mr. Rogers look like Mr. Rogers. Now, Julia and I are going to be discussing the movie, and there it was a good movie, and I would recommend that you see it. But there were things about it that I found sort of morally disturbing, and so if you find that this portrait of Mr. Rogers seems a little bit on the lurid side with the colors and everything else, it might be because I like Mr. Rogers and I think he has a very calming effect on children and maybe adults as well. And certainly he had a mission and he seems to have accomplished his mission in life, so that's a lot to admire. But I just can't help but wondering if his mission wasn't just to make people accept the evil in life and not look away from it and maybe just accept things. That's the impression that I got. So, is Mr. Rogers a hero in my eyes? Well, only if you think a hero is someone who makes the unbearable bearable. If you think that's what a hero is, then yes, he's a hero. Um, but he's not the kind of hero that would help someone to actually fight evil in the making by anything other than behaving well, and having a nice other outlet for anger rather than the source of the anger. So there's my version of Mr. Rogers, well intentioned, but maybe a little bit less than what we think.